What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Oxygen Not Included. And everybody's now happy with their jumpers on. And let's actually take a look how happy they are. And yes, we're now looking at the mods that I mentioned, I think, in previous episodes. The zoom out camera mods and research mods, etc. are all in there. But you should have already had them anyway. But yeah, they're very happy now, all with their snazzy jumpers on. Very, very good. Using the phones. I will put some more stuff in there for them when I get round to it, but power consumption is a thing, and upgrading to the better cables requires refined metals, which I have a decent amount of iron, but I really don't want to start using that on power cables just yet. Now, there is a lot of research being produced at the minute, so expect that to continue to go. Also, you can see there's a lot of items that I've researched that I can't make yet because we're missing things like plastic and or glass. While I was looking, actually, I saw that there are some new doors as well, and I love the idea of these wooden doors. So for the farms, that is what I am going to use. The wooden doors, I'm guessing that they are a sealed door, as in they won't let the gas pass unless they're open, of course. Whereas the original doors we're using are, they let the gases pass through them all the time. Yeah, I like those. They look quite cool, and it's like a barn door, right? So it makes sense. There is a lot of the more spaced out metal-looking plastic doors, coloured ones that were from the entities that you see throughout POIs of the maps, but I'm not too interested in those at the minute. But I really do like the idea of those wooden doors, so I'll give them a go for my farms. Ranchers. Yes, ranchers. I did set up I have set up a sieve system to clear the very small amount of polluted water we have, and of course turn that into clean water. It failed immediately because the polluted water can go colder than the clean water, and of course it's cleaning the polluted water at -2 degrees, it's turning it into clean water, and of course that's trying to freeze, breaks the pipe and makes it a right mess. So it's there, but it's turned off. It lasted less than 10 seconds turned on, and what I'm doing now is making a hot room is the idea. So what I want to do is build a room that is insulated heavily, and then try and get a lot of something in here that's going to make a lot of heat, and then try and dump my ice in here to then convert it into a liquid. This is a project that went on for a long time for me, because I was trying to find a way of it working and be efficient and cheap. Start off with 3 heaters. I'll skip through it to get to where I actually concluded to, but I will, of course, make you aware of all of the ideas that I did indeed try. And this needs its own separate power line because we're going to be putting some heat into here, and of course that means a lot of power. Clearly my main power line there flashing red means I've connected it to incorrect cable somewhere. So I need to fix that, but first we'll put an additional transformer in for the hot room. I managed to leave one of the standard cables in the battery, on the battery. That's what was causing it to show red, so I fixed that now. In this heat room, it's quite simple. We have 3 heaters. I don't have metal towers yet to try, so we haven't unlocked them yet. Some temp shift plates that help pull that heat out to make this entire room as warm or as hot as possible. 2 storage containers that will house all of our liquefactables that turn into water. So obviously polluted ice will not be put in there just yet. And then that'll all get stored in there, and I'm hoping that it will then, of course, warm up the room, warm up the storage containers, warm up the ice, and drop it as liquid. Now, I haven't put any way of collecting said liquid, because until I know something's working, I'm not going to... I'm not going to waste my time. Put a thermometer in there, connect it to the heaters so that the room doesn't get hotter than, say, 80 degrees, 70 degrees, something like that. We don't want the room to get into just go silly temperatures and then we end up having steam. If it does work. Spoiler, it don't. Also, they added LEDs, 3 LEDs in the automations, green, red and yellow, so I'm trying them out. Why not? So when the heaters are on, set by the temperature, get a green LED. When they turn off, we get a red LED. I've not got a reason for the yellow one yet, but I'll find something. It's always nice to try new things, right? So in the bonbon farm, we have a decent amount of nectar now, and at the minute I'm not ready to use it, and we are dropping wood like crazy. You can see now we've already lost over 10 tons of wood due to power consumption. So what I'm going to do is send them in and harvest all of these trees and actually grow them for the wood and see. I'm not sure how much they give. It's about, is it 75 a branch? Looks like 75. Yeah, 75 wood per branch. Now, I'm not sure what that translates to. Is that 75 kilos of wood, or is that 75 wood branches or wood logs that converts to something? I'm not sure. The 28.4 tons, it hasn't really gone up much, so I can only assume it is 75 kilos. The heater room is working in terms of a heater room. The room is very hot. The ice, though, is just not absorbing that heat very quickly at all. And I'm looking for metal tiles here, which I believe is the research we're currently on, I find out, which is very convenient. Yep, there it is. And that is the research 𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐏 in action. Just set all of the ones that we can do with the buildings that we have, and just told them just to go ahead and do it. While I just prat around doing my own things, the research will then be completed, and I'm not waiting for it in the future. Just with the ladder going up into space as well, we are actually at the vacuum of space, right? We do have it. There is meteors now showing. They're not going to affect us. We're nowhere near it. But we are also able to get to the teleporters and therefore travel to the other asteroid that we've unlocked, which is called 𝐒𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐏𝐍. 𝐒𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈���, yeah, so it's a gooey potato. But at the minute, I don't want to go there. I want to try and stay here. I'm not sure if I'm going to make that a rule, and if you want to see that as a rule, let me know. I want to try and survive and get the game completion just in this one asteroid. It is also an achievement, but on the 𝐒𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐏, it's a normal asteroid, so there's normal temperatures and normal resources, and it would make this then asteroid much easier to process because you could send the items back and forth through the teleport system. So unless we just ignore 𝐒𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐏 and use other asteroids from rocketry only, let me know if you have an opinion on that or not. For now, I'm going to try and not use 𝐒𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐏 and stay where we are. So melting the ice raw as it was clearly not working. There's too much volume there, 40 tons or whatever. It's just too slow. So now going back to what I mentioned previously, which is the temp shift plates out of ice, which you can do, that should work better because them temp shift plates are going to absorb that heat, of course, as they should, and they will then melt. Now that is too many. I don't even need to tell you, probably already say that as I'm doing it. Yes, it's too many. They do work very well, and if I'd have put one or two down, they would have turned to liquid straight away. What's happening here is there is so many now temp shift plates, all at minus -40. There's, again, too much density of that cold to outweigh the heat that's actually being pumped in there. It'll take too long. So less is more. Ice temp shift plates does work with those heaters as they are, if you get the gas temperatures up in the room, but you need to use a lot less of the temp shift plates, and don't put them next to each other. Have at least one tile gap between them. My next idea was to use one of the machines that usually when you need it is always a pain in the arse, but in this situation it may work. So I've put the pump in below because at some point we're going to need that anyway. And the mesh tiles there to allow the water to drop. Looking at this, we have finished all of the research up to the level 2 research. So that's nice, which means that our researchers now will be doing something else. But these actuators thingies, whatever they're called, where they basically cool gases, liquids down, create a crap ton of heat. Normally too much heat to contend with. So I've locked it in a room with ice, and then I'm just going to cool down any gas, I don't care what, because I'm not actually interested in the gas that it's cooling down. I'm interested in the heat that it produces in doing so, hopefully melting the ice trapped in the room with it. That's a lot of toilets. Everybody's asleep, so nothing's happening, but everybody's happy. I have turned off that one burner there because them cots were not being used, so that's good. And you can see there our first batch of hatchlings foxes have hatched, and therefore we now have the fox farm going again. Of course, as babies, though, they will not grow the wooden antlers, so we just need to keep them fed with the pike apples, and they will eventually start producing us with more wood. Down to 25 tons now, so it is still dropping. Using wood for power is, of course, slightly problematic. It is working in terms of it is creating a lot of heat, but it's still not enough to outweigh the fact that them temp tiles are just crammed together. Now, I have removed the ones that connect to the wall. If you put a temp shift plate to the wall, it will actually force that temperature change to the wall itself. Even the insulated tiles that you can see there will be affected. Not as quickly, but they will be affected. Now, the machine itself is staying around -35. That was just proving that it was never going to work. So this is what I've done, or what I'm trying a little bit in the future. So we knew that there was going to be a lot of hot down at the bottom. I mentioned it previously, lava and some materials that of course are hot due to that. So what I'd like to try and do is get their materials in here, and of course you can see that is working. Now, I did it with the duplicants, and that is a terrible idea because it made about 5 or 6 of them incapacitated in the hospital. But it is working. Look at the heat coming out. We have, obviously, you see I finished the metal tiles. They are now taking that heat out of that material and forcing it into the metal tiles. The metal tiles then radiating that heat out, and the ice is slowly melting. Again, I'm putting too many temp shift plates down. You need to put less down for this to work. The temperatures we're dealing with, it's just, yeah, as soon as you put down this many temp shift plates at -40, it stops working again, and you can see the metal tile now is actually cold again. The material is still very hot and losing its temperature very quick, which of course is going into the ice, but because there is so much of it at such high density and such low temperatures, it's not really working as expected. Now, I have a sweeper down here, and I think what I want to do is build in a, conveyor belt. So the conveyor belt can move the items for me without a duplicant having to do it. That will stop them then being injured by it, because of course then the temperatures will of course injure your duplicants. And just drop it into that room, leaving the door shut in that room. I hope, at least then, that we are able to melt a crap ton of ice. Now, it's reasonably safe digging down so close to the lava because this is a vacuum of space. There are no gases to transmit that heat from it to you. Because, of course, you are not heating up a vacuum. A vacuum is Kelvin. 1 Kelvin, right? Anyway. So, yeah, with a pipe loader or a conveyor belt loader and a conveyor belt going straight up through the base into that room, we will see if it works. Now, it does work, but what I forgot is that the heat will always be dissipating along the line. The conveyor belt itself isn't insulated or anything, so that heat will be chucked everywhere as well on the way, which does cause us a few issues, but we'll have to wait and see for those, because for now we've got to get these items built before any of that will take effect, of course. And when it's built, we are still going to need to send some duplicants down here to break some of the rocks up for the sweeper to be able to pick them up. I could use a robo miner, but yeah, I'll give the duplicant, as long as they're breaking it and then leaving it, it should be fine. I'm not expecting them to break it up and then carry it. Though I don't actually think, when they're carrying the 2000 degree solids, I think it's actually 1200 degrees, but anyway, that doesn't affect them, which is a bit annoying. It's actually the atmosphere that they're in, or the atmospheres that they're in, that will affect them. Now, there is atmosphere around the solids, especially on the left there, because you can see the background is actually stopping the gases from going into the vacuum of space. So that light background mountain there is giving us a 1200 degree gas pocket. On the right, that should be reasonably safe. And here we go. It's up and running, and you can see straight away at the top there, you can see all of that red. So it's picking up what I could, very minimal amount of stuff, but nevertheless it should be enough to see if it works. You can see all of that heat is getting thrown in along the base, along the power spine currently, which is a good thing I built it up there because it's better than going in the base and causing havoc there. It then goes into the insulated tile, and note to self, that does seem to stop it from off-putting that heat. So I would suggest you, or I, in the future, I am going to make it run through an insulated tile, which will stop that temperature being off-gassed unnecessarily. When it then moves through, you can see it's going through that door, which isn't insulated. So yeah, that's making it a hotbox, and then up there past that brick as well, it isn't insulated, so making it a hotbox. That will cause us problems in a second, but for the meantime, it's now throwing it into this room specifically designed to melt ice. We can see we've already got water at the bottom being pumped, and they don't like being in the room, but we have to have them in there because, well, we need them to put the ice temperature plates in. They're not going to melt if we don't build them. And this is a lot better than the option we had previously that was, of course, carrying it by hand from the zone into this room. Now, it is going to run out quickly because we only dug up a certain amount of tiles, and as soon as the sweeper grabs all of that, we've run out. But the amount of resources, items that are in there, and the heat that's being produced from it should be enough to give us a good, adequate amount of water. And depending on the amount of water it gives us, yeah, there you can see that is the last bit there. At that point then, there's nothing else to collect. And then I dig more, but look at the hospital on the left hand side. It's a reek mess. Everybody's a bit injured. Everybody's got 3rd-degree burns. My bad. This mess here you can see around the outside of the hotbox is annoying. I should be able to cool that down reasonably easily there. Just put the odd tile around there and that'll get rid of that. In the meantime, I'm going to try and keep them away from this area and let it settle a little bit and let some of this melt. We have water coming in. As long as this water doesn't drop temperature again, it won't refreeze, which I will put a heater in the... Oh, I've already done it. There we go. I'm ahead of myself. So I have already put the heater in there. I just haven't powered it yet. That will be set to make sure that the water never gets below, say, 10 degrees. And that will stop it freezing. At this point, we now have water to use for toilets and sinks. That will then get turned into polluted water, which will go into the top, which will then get sieved into clean water. And we have some infrastructure. I'm not aware that we lose efficiency on the water. I don't think we do. So the water, the clean water that goes in and the polluted water that comes out, of course, stays the same. So we should have, at that point, a fully set up plumbing liquid system. Still some excessive heat around in places it's not supposed to be, but it is working. We have water now going into our water storage. Of course, down here you can see I actually, well, twofold now. I want to get a bit more of this resource, but in a much safer way. Not go anywhere near that mercury gas, because I can't imagine that's good for you. But also I'd like to try and build a box down here to try and use the heat for other purposes. So both plumbing and gases. Either way, we can get some of that heat up to where we need it, and maybe even use it as heating, so that we are not then using wood in the burners. If we can get the bedrooms and everything up to temperature just by using the heat from the lava. It will eventually run out, but I don't imagine it will run out before the series ends. So that's a cheap way of doing it. Now, you can cheese lava, or you can cheese anything actually in terms of liquids and gases into pipes. All you do is don't send the maximum amount of liquid or gas through a pipe. If you are not sending the maximum amount per tile of the liquid or gas in the pipe, it won't actually sublimate or freeze. So it looks like we have some movement now, and we finally have liquids, which is a lot more what I'm used to playing. And we can do a lot more things with that. Plenty of water up the top there being pumped down and melted as we go. Plenty of water down at the bottom, and also plenty of polluted water that we can convert happening as we speak. I have However, oh my god, that was close. That was close. You nearly died. It was like 1% health. Yeah, so really we just need to give all of the duplicates now a chance to rest. And we will give them that chance and come back to the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please click the like and any comments are welcome. As always, again, thanks for watching. Take care. Goodbye.